What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning to another episode of Right on Cue Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Logan Chestnut, Small Batch Barbecue. Joining me tonight is a very special guest, Mr. Josh Hess of Hess Hogs 4. Back on the pod. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not much. Good to be talking to you again. It's been, I don't
A
know,
day?
yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Not long
a
enough.
whole day.
Not long enough, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But no, man, it's fantastic to have you on the show, man. I appreciate you coming on. This month, you ran a podcast, so you understand how it is. You're always thinking of what kind of what you're doing in a month and all that jazz. And I've always wanted to do a month of proteins. There's 4 weeks and there's 4 proteins, so I figured, what the hell, you can't like beat that. So I figured we kick things off like we do with barbecue on comps, chicken. And when I thought of chicken, I thought of you, man.
Well, thank you.
You've been top 10 quite a few times, couple times.
Every now and then I get lucky, but then I could never be Mr. October. I always seem to fall off in October. I don't know what the deal is, but there's a lot of great chicken cooks out there.
Fuck me too, dude. Last year I was like, all right, sweet. I wasn't planning on winning it. Like, I didn't have that high hopes because I'm not Mr. 180. But no, I was like, I was top 10 the whole year, and then like the last month, like you said, just I fell off. And I couldn't buy a win. I couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy anything. But it happens. I need to go out. I need to go out west where there's like 5-team comps and just win those.
Hey, I mean, winning is winning. I know people they bash on people that go to smaller comps or whatever, but at the end of the day, you knew what was available, and if they chose to go, great. And if there's only 4 teams or 40 teams,
No, I absolutely. It just where we are, especially in down here in Alabama and Tennessee world. I mean, every damn comp you go to is going to be 30 teams, and it's going to have 8 of the top 10 in there, and it's like, it's a beast. It's a beast, man. It's a beast. But it makes you better, and that's what they tell me. I haven't gotten better, but that's what they say. They say those words come out of those mouths. But no, man. How's things been going with you, man? When's your comp kicking off?
So March 28th, I believe it is, or towards the end of March, I'm at the Double in St. Roberts, the Kicking at Route 66 comp.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'm in Altoona, and then I've got a little bit of a break again. We've had the girls and I have really been intent on doing more classes, and then really I've had a lot of like special events I've been doing for folks. So that's kind of kept me busy. And my sorority does cheer and everything else, and they travel more than I do right now.
For all their you're doing a little late this year. Last year you kicked it off quick with some Florida comps, didn't you?
I had the opportunity to go to one in Florida. And then in March I was in Virginia, and unfortunately Bailey and I are not able to make that comp this year.
You travel, man.
Yeah, you know me. I love to go new places.
You put some miles on them tires.
Hey, I just put new tires on the minivan, so my van hood is running strong.
Yeah, I was like, you cooking all the finest parking lots across the country.
Yeah, I don't discriminate. I'll go anywhere.
You usually go and conquer. You see you conquer. But no, man. And like I said, one of probably always say one of your strong suits, I would say, based on how many damn trophies I hear from you that you win, is the Dirty Bird, the chicken.
Chicken, yeah. I've got lucky a couple times, landed on those lucky tables for chicken.
Sure.
So I have a pretty middle of the road process for it.
What is your opinion on, like, because you cook a wider range than I do in the country? Do you share the opinion that I have that everybody took 10 chicken classes last year and they just decided like we're going to be really good? Because I've noticed like the scores like jump dramatically from 2023 to 2024 to get in the realm of like getting a top 5 finish. You better get like a 175, 6 and higher down here to even be in the realm.
Well, and I think there's something about that. I think just from the availability of classes, the availability of content, and the people that make great rubs and sauces and brines and injections and everything else continue to improve what we're able to put on our proteins,
Mhm.
it just leads up to better scores. Uh,
Yeah.
I went down that rabbit hole last year. I was doing great in chicken. I remember I called Weeze. I'm like, Weeze, I'm tired of getting. I mean, I lucked out at one comp. I think I had like a 172, but got first place chicken. It was just a tough trip,
Shit.
right? But at first is first. So I'm like, haha, I got this nice trophy now. But I remember I was like, Weeze, I said, why are we not getting 180s? Because he was down the same rabbit hole. He wasn't hitting 180 either. Weeze and I talk about every day. But
He just got a 178.6, right?
well, no, no, and sometimes yes, and that's anybody though, right?
Right.
But I went down a rabbit hole trying to chase taste,
Mhm.
and it was interesting. I think I had 4 or 5 comps where I chased taste, and I actually scored worse, and it
Really?
really hurt me. And then I went back to what I was doing, and just started getting second place calls, fifth place calls,
Mhm.
um, and it made a difference just by running what I know, running what works. But I think that with the way classes are taught, if you can understand how to apply that for your taste standpoint, there's value in it. But if you're taking
Mhm.
a class and they're cooking on a pellet smoker and you cook on a can, it is a different process.
It is.
I
It's
think
fun.
it's
It's fun.
mindful of.
Yeah. Well, this previous weekend, I joined a lot of my barbecue brethren and took Drew Davis's Razor Racks. He did a ribs and chicken class, and I tell you what, it's. I mean, that guy, he cooks. He's a phenomenal cook. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no doubt there, and he's legendary with his 1 can GC. But I mean, the man, like, you can just tell he has when they cook that much and that a level, they just got it dialed in, and it was so cool to see. Like, and he even like really kind of flexed a little bit. He cooked one batch of food on the Jambo
yeah,
for the offsetters, and then he also cooked the same thing on the cans for the can cooker. So it was cool to see, like you said, the different variations between the two cookers.
yeah. That's cool that he did that for folks.
Yeah, and I learned a lot, and it's an excellent class. Next year, if you guys ever have a chance to take his class, Razorbacks, highly, highly, highly recommend. It was damn good food.
Yeah,
Damn good food. But anywho, man, let's move on. Like I said, let's give the people what they want. They are here to hear all about chicken and how to improve their games and kick our asses this coming year. So uh let's let's kind of start off by telling people, like, what first off, what do you cook on? Are you a can cooker, a pellet cooker, offset cooker? Let people know.
so I cook on Gateway drums,
Hmm.
and that's what I learned to cook on. So I just cook on drums.
Right. I feel like drum cooking or chicken drum for chicken is a match made in heaven when it comes to judges. I know a lot of people that have outlaws that they have 1 can just for their chicken.
Yeah,
Uh it just something about that grilled flavor, especially down the south and Midwest, it really hits.
yeah,
I mean, certain other areas of the country, maybe it's not as it doesn't hit as hard, but I feel like at least in both of our kind of regions, that's the predominant flavor that the judges are looking for.
yeah. That can cook. It just there's something special about it.
It is. So, all right, let's talk about let's just go through the whole spiel. Like, so you're setting up your can. What charcoal are you running? And
So I've been working with Smoky Woods, their lump charcoal.
okay,
And it's great. I like it. I'll be honest with you though, probably ran about every brand of lump charcoal you could run with. I've messed around with briquettes as well.
hmm
Looking at gel stubble briquettes and just how
hmm
they burned, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a very consistent burn, but I just kind of landed with Smoky Woods lump. And I don't run any wood. I mean, I'm obviously running wood, you're running charcoal, but I don't put any, pecan or cherry or apple or anything like that. I don't think it needs it with chicken, personally.
yeah, yeah.
So
Chicken's
yes,
definitely
go. I'm sorry.
no. I said chicken's definitely a delicate protein where some of the bigger proteins definitely you can throw some smoke on there, and that's what the people are after. But for chicken, I feel like straight charcoal is the only way to run. Minimize the amount of smoke that on that protein.
Yeah,
Uh, and some people. So I want to talk to you about uh theory. So I run the Good Charcoal Company. I run their I do a 50-50 lump briquette mix because I feel like I get a little dirty in the can. They call it dirty in the smoke with the briquettes. What is your theory on something like? What's your opinion on something like that? Because my theory is I feel like it hit better me when I started mixing it up with lump and some briquettes versus just straight lump. A lump runs really clean. I feel like briquettes you get a little bit of that kind of grilly, ashy flavor. Not ashy flavor, but you know what I mean. The grill.
Yeah, you don't want ashy flavor.
No, not ashy flavor, but you get more of a like a backyard grill kind of flavor.
Sure. For me, what I have found, and really I found this more by listening to people, because I have had the opportunity to cook all over the U.S. and I have had the opportunity to make a lot of friends and just listen to them on what they do as far as their chicken cook. I think a lot of it's just what works for you, because I can get in my own head. Like I shared earlier, I went down the taste rabbit hole and I'm messing around with sauces. I'm messing around with it. I'm just messing around when I really shouldn't have been. I should have just ran what I knew worked. And I got in my own head. And I think that's true with the charcoal we use. Or if we're on a pellet cooker, what pellets are we running? Or the offset, there's a lot of things that are a mental game, in my opinion. So I think so long as you can have a consistent burn with your charcoal, you're in good shape, personally.
Right.
Is there one better than the other? I can't say that because I've had success with Royal Oak. I've had success with Blue Sog. I've had success with good charcoal. I've had success with Smoky Woods. I've been lucky with cooking with a lot of those big names.
Definitely. I would say this though: once you find a brand that you like, stick with it. Just because I've noticed, like, so you cook the variety of the charcoals. Like certain charcoals cook differently than others.
Absolutely,
100%. Because I know personally when I ran Royal Oak, it burns a lot quicker. And for chicken, it didn't matter so much, but for the big proteins, like I was having to add charcoal halfway throughout the cook, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. Because with other charcoal, I didn't. So that's why I've stuck with the good charcoal company, just because I know exactly how the burn pattern of it is.
Sure.
But yeah, so moving up. So all right, so we got your can. And I'm guessing you're running up and down, or how do you what temp are you looking at starting off?
When I put my chicken on, it is, to quote Tim Shear, it's a strong 300. So it's up and down, a little to the right, because I want it when it hits. I want that, and again, I cook legs, not thighs. But I want it I want there to be that punch. I want there to be that rendering happening almost as quick as possible. And I found when I was messing around at 275 versus when say it's 325, I have better results running it at a higher temperature when I start, to get the rub to set.
Sure. No, so so you run it straight up and down. Are you running a water pan or any kind of deflector on your can whenever you're doing it?
No water pan, no deflector.
Okay.
I have it on a it's a little cookie rack, honestly, and I put foil over it because I'm lazy. But I'll put foil down and I'll put the legs on there, and I just set that directly in the center of the drum. And something with that, before I get too far in it, make sure your drum is level. If you're cooking under, either way, whoever your foot is, please make sure it's level, because you won't notice a difference when you're trying to get your rub to set. But when we get into the butter bath, or however you get to that point of getting it tender, if it's at even a slight decline, that butter's gonna go where the decline's at, and your chicken will cook differently. You will get some that, hey, it's 204, and the others like at 190, and you're scratching your head, hey, what happened? Well, the liquid's down. So if you don't have your drum level, you're doing yourself a disservice.
And also,
or whatever you're cooking with level.
Right. Also, make sure your drum is clean. A clean drum wins championships. That's I remember Brad. I argued with AJ forever about this, and then we had Brad Leininger on the show, and he confirmed it. And I said, well, AJ's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I think Brad knows a little something about
Man, I don't
barbecue.
know. Wasn't AJ Chicken Team of the Year again, like 2 years in a row?
No, No. So he was rib team of the year one year, and he was almost chicken team of the year. But he started getting 1As in chicken after he started cleaning his can. I'm just saying.
Yeah, don't use Clorox bleach, guys. Sam's has
No.
a great grill cleaner you can buy.
Grill cleaner, absolutely. That stuff from Sam's is by far the way to go. So let's kind of move into the nitty gritty. All right, so we got your can set up level, clean, and we got the fire going at 300. What time are you starting in the morning, like lighting your cans?
So I light my cans. I always do it an hour before I put the protein on. So I put my chicken on at 10:15. So I'm lighting my can at 9:15. And it doesn't take an hour, but that's just what I found works for me with my timeline of having ribs, what's going on with the ribs. I'm probably wrapping ribs around that time. They get the chicken, seasoned and ready to go.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's you got your can going 300 degrees. Let's kind of like go in a time machine and talk about your prep for your chicken.
Yeah.
So for your chicken legs, so you start off with something like this. These are some beautiful Springer Mountain chicken legs. So you're gonna take. Do you use You're Springer Mountain guy?
I have learned to appreciate Springer Mountain.
Yes, but I mean, no matter what you use, I feel like the most important thing, especially for legs, is make sure you get the white skin chicken, right?
Yes.
I mean that it just I feel because I mean it's less fat. Springer Mountain or Smart Chicken or wherever you are in the country, something whatever it's the cleanest looking skin starting off with. So go from sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go from there. So how do you what's your trim looking like? You take something like this. Are you looking for a certain weight or?
So that, and it may be one of my downfalls. I'm not interested in the weight of my chicken legs. And maybe there is, some positives to do that, but I've never put a lot of time and effort into that. I'm more interested in when we look at the chicken leg, and let's say we're looking at that big fat one where the skin's pulled back, right? So I'm kind of like that one, but I'm also liking the one to the immediate right of it, right? I like the way that looks, but I'm cutting the top, right? Because I want to release the tendons. Cutting
So
that nut
you're
off.
going kind of the barbecue leagues method and
Yep.
just straight across from the top.
Yep.
Okay.
So cut that, and then from there, I do pull the skin back, and I do work very hard to find the tendon.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times in the past I would say, "Man, this chicken tastes amazing," right? And I'd give it to a buddy to try, and they take a bite, and like, "Yeah, it's great, but I got a tendon," and it's like, so if they got a tendon, there's strong probability that a judge might get that, and that will affect your tenderness. At least from a mindset of, hey, this is not what I expected when I took a bite into there.
So are you filleting it out like because you got two on the chicken legs? You got two tendons. You got the big one that everybody sees, and then you got the smaller one in the back. I know a lot of. I know. Are you cutting them both out? I know a lot of people that will fillet the big one out and kind of just trim the back one.
That's what I do.
Yeah, because once you cut the top off, especially like your method, you cut the top off. That's really once it starts cooking, it's going to just shrink up and release.
And then something else, if you look at the bottom of the chicken legs, like you see, and I have noticed it with Springer Mountain more than any other brand I've cooked. And it's not a bad thing, just be mindful of it. But take your scissors and trim up around the knuckles on the very bottom of your legs.
Okay.
It's just one from a presentation standpoint when you're putting it in the box. I don't know if judges ever dinged me for the way, say, a knuckle looked, but I just rather it not have part of the bone or the cartilage kind of flaking off there. So I try to be very deliberate with that. And then I normally get 3 packs, right? And I'm looking for 13. I only do 13 because my daughter's like Taylor Swift, and that's her lucky number, whatever. So
that makes sense. That plays, yeah.
Yeah. So when I'm just saying, hey guys,
hey, whatever works, man. Whatever works, that's fine.
And sometimes it works. But I am looking to keep them as close in size as possible. And something else, and I won't charge any extra for this, Logan.
Thank you, buddy.
But when you take your leg, I like to grip it and shake it. Because there are sometimes you'll get your legs and the bone is broke. If the bone is broke, stop wasting your time. Just get rid of it, or hey, you're going to eat it at the house. Be mindful of that, because if it's real loose and it's got a lot of give, for me, after it cooks, it's only going to get worse, not better. Just discard it and move on.
Nobody likes a floppy bone, man. Nobody
No,
liked
when
the
you think
vodka.
about with ribs, if you had shiners, you wouldn't run
Right.
that rack of ribs, right? If your money
Right.
muscle looked below standard, you sure wouldn't run the collars or whatever you're doing for pork. It's no different for chicken, in my
Right.
opinion, at least.
Right. So, all right. So, I know you're a leg cook, so I'll kind of move over to for the thigh cookers.
Sure.
For me, you don't weigh yours. You said on your legs. Are you looking for a certain weight?
No.
Okay. So for me, I like chicken thigh that is. I start off if it's not 8 ounces or higher, because I weigh mine. Because I want to trim down to 5 ounces. Um, that's kind of like that's why I go through so many damn chicken thighs, especially in the summer. You know, when they start pulling them early,
Yeah.
it's hard for me. So I'll go through like a case of chicken thighs and to get 16. But so I like my thighs be on the bigger side, so 8 ounces, and then I will take it, flip it over, pull the skin off, and then dock it on the knuckle and on the top, just to give that nice little grip.
Yeah.
And then kind of look at the bone. The bones for me is the main thing. Like I said, you see sometimes the bone's like a spare on how the bone goes through the meat. Like I want even distribution on both sides of the bone,
Yeah.
because I can tell you how many times I've trimmed one before I kind of knew what I was doing, and then all meat will be on the left side and like nothing on the right. I'm like, I'm gonna have that asshole judge that goes freaking just picks it up and like, let me get the not the meaty, juicy, beautiful looking side. Let me get that other side and just bite down on it, and like that screws your tenderness side of it. So
Yeah.
even meat on both sides, and then dock it down. And I was a skin scraper. I scrape it out. If you guys want to see exactly how a pro does it, who is a good friend of mine, and he posts his videos on his Facebook page. Highly recommend checking out the Barbecue Bus. He makes some beautiful chicken, and he posts exactly a trim video that I personally use myself on his Facebook page. So definitely check out the Barbecue Bus for if you're interested in learning how to trim thighs like a champ. But yep. So all right. So we're going from there. You got your chicken legs trimmed down. So you said 16
No.
or 12? No, 13. My bad. Sorry, Tay. Excuse me. 13. So when are you doing this? Like, what day are you doing this in a week? You doing it like day before? Or?
I usually on a Monday or Tuesday, I'll do it. And then if it's earlier than that, I'll just trim them and throw them in the freezer. I'll vac seal them and throw them in the freezer. Like for this comp I have coming up, I've got actually it's a double. So yeah, I've already got the chicken trimmed and it's sitting in the freezer just waiting to thaw out.
I got you. Jacob, it's because of Taylor Swift. So you're gonna throw them in the freezer, and you'll dethaw them, I guess, day of when you're driving down to the comp.
Yeah, day of or day before. And funny story about that. Last year in Virginia, so make sure your chicken's thawed out, guys. So we when we got there Thursday, I know I've told you the story, but just for the listening audience, I thought, hey, my chicken was still a little frozen. So I put it in the brine, frozen, because there was a chicken burn that Friday night. And man, was that a poor life choice. So don't think your brine will help thaw out your chicken that much if it's super cold outside. Just make sure your chicken's thawed and then put it in the brine, because it'll work against you, to say the least.
I've done it before. I've had one that still had little icicles on the top of it, like this picture right here. That's after my chicken thigh trim, and it has some like icicles on top, and I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. Throw it in the brine.
Turns out we were both wrong.
We definitely were wrong. Like, why is my chicken only at 180? It's turning time, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you learn something, and that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go to so you do this ahead of time, vacuum seal. Highly recommend, guys, if you're watching and you're kind of a newbie, doing all your trims, sauces and everything ahead of time. Just take all the variables out you can. It makes competition life so much easier and less stressful. I'm sure you would agree.
Oh, absolutely. Anything I can have done ahead of time, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he even pre-injects all his meats. So when he shows up,
Yeah.
you hear that? You
Yeah,
hear
I
that,
show
KCS
up, my
judges?
brisket already done. I mean, whatever. You know.
I stopped at Bucky's on the way down, got my brisket sliced. I'm good to go. Turn-ins are ready.
Yeah.
No. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to Brian. What brines are we looking at? So, or do we inject? Do we inject? Do we just brine, or what are we doing?
I brine first, and I use. Hang on, I'm getting a terrible glare. Heath's, Riles, chicken injection,
and brine.
There we go. Yes. So I
Nice.
like it. It does a great job with it, and I do the Regan. It's 4 bottles of water with the brine. I stir it up real good. I've got the brine bucket. I put the legs in. I give it 4 hours. What I've changed is since I started injecting though, is I don't put the phosphates in my brine. I
Mhm.
use the phosphates in my injector.
Right.
And that's the one thing that I changed from what I was doing in the past, and it seems to work okay. And I use a lot less phosphates because that stuff's expensive.
It is expensive. All right, so I had this talk with Drew over the weekend. Phosphates are phosphates, right? Like I've tried all different brands, and essentially they're all just the same thing with a different label. Wouldn't you agree?
I think to an extent, yes. I know Butcher's has 2 different brands of phosphates, and if you're not careful, if you're on the wrong one, you'll be a little disappointed. They both work well, but one's more designed for beef uh,
Mm.
versus the other one that's more of an all-purpose. I run Cosmos. Um,
Moisture Magic.
yeah, I've always ran that, and just a creature of habit.
I
You know,
like
some
that.
people
Or
let me know.
LC's got a good one, the Rainmaker. I
Okay, yeah,
just
I've never tried theirs, but I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, those are just the two brands that I've used in the past. I've had good luck with it. But so with your chicken, so let's talk about your brine. So you brine first and then inject in the morning, or you inject, like, what are you doing?
So if I had the ability, I will brine the night before. And I
How many hours? All night
I
or
do 4 hours.
4 hour brine?
Yeah, with that. Now, I would say there is such a variation of different brines and processors you could use. Some people just use a low sodium chicken stock and they leave their
Mm-hmm.
chicken in there overnight. And it works well for them. They score great. I won't give Robert Jackson's secret away, but I would tell you since I took his class, and Robert's a stellar chicken cook.
Yeah.
That's a process he uses. Um,
Right.
and it works just fine.
Yeah.
But the big thing is find what you feel gives you the best results.
Mm.
And for me, the 4 hour brine seems to always work. Um, and the big
Are
thing I
you
rolled the dice with was just not putting a quarter cup or yeah, basically it was a quarter cup of phosphates in the brine mix. I just a couple tablespoons in the injection.
right? So I run Peep Show.
Oh yeah, they're
Uh,
wonderful.
yeah, that's been the one I've found that I have had the most success with, and obviously everybody used Game Changer. You know, I mean, let's be
Yeah,
honest. Every single barbecue cook that use it, the same people that use Blues Hog Original in their sauces also use Game Changer on their chicken injections and brines. And since I feel like once Game Changer exited, you know, there's kind of been this vacuum of what's going to be the standard chicken injection and brine.
yeah,
And there's been 3 kind of pop up. I mean, there's other ones that are great, but the ones I've heard the most of is what you said, what you use, the Heath Riles injections. Peep Show has been a monster on the scene, and then brother Bill down there, Purvis, has his Game Over, right?
yes. And I've
I,
used that. And
yeah,
it is wonderful.
yeah. The all three of them are fantastic. I preferably love Peep Show, and the logo kicks all their other ones' asses.
Hmm.
You can't beat the chicken on the pole. That's the only way I can afford to cook and do this thing.
There you go.
But no. So, do you add anything else in your chicken injection, or you run straight injection? Like, do you straight out the bag, or do you have any other little secrets? So, I'll give one of my little secrets. I put a teaspoon of cattle prod beef injection in my chicken uh, mix for my chicken injection.
So when you inject, so with my injection, I've tried to push boundaries with that, and I've been very fortunate. I've had judges actually leave. I know it's weird. We always say we never get a comment card from a judge, but there's been a
Mm-hmm.
couple times when I was leaning more in the savory world, and how can I just deliver more of a savory punch when I was injecting? And it was just too salt forward.
Mhm.
So I really went back into just keeping it simple. I'll
Mhm.
put a quarter cup of Heath's chicken injection.
Mhm.
And I'll do a bottle of water, and I'll do 2 tablespoons of phosphates. There
Mhm.
have been times, just from experiment standpoint, I've done that with a quarter cup of Blues Hogs pork marinade
Mhm.
because of sweetness with that. I've messed around with Heath's butter bath as well.
Mhm.
That's so good. It's so
It
versatile to use. Um,
it clumps up so much though.
it can.
I've never
Um,
had one that wasn't rock hard.
really?
I feel like Heath's butter bath takes like Viagra or the Blue Chew because it's always just every time. I'm over here like chiseling out like ice, trying to get it in
Well,
my mixture.
that's good feedback. I'll text Mitch and tell him to lay off the Blue Chew.
You
Uh,
should. Mitch is sponsored by Blue Chew, so I don't know if he did that.
that's a good point. I don't know. I'll ask him.
Him, him and Shannon Sharp, man, they got the sponsorship.
Well, good for those guys. But yeah, so from an injection standpoint, I generally will inject my chicken at 8 a.m.
8 a.m. morning
Uh,
of.
morning of, yeah.
Okay.
And you can do it earlier if you want. You could do it later if you want. But for me, I just hold the leg and one side and the other side, 2 full pulls. As I'm pulling back out, right? 'Cause you don't just have a big blotch at the bottom. You want to
Hmm.
have it evenly dispersed. And that's what I do from an injection standpoint.
So probably what 5 cc's in each side, more than likely, just like one pump on each
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yes, around 5 cc's. Uh, see, for me, when I do my injection, do you feel like you can over inject chicken? There's different variants that people say pump those things up like Dolly Parton, and then other people say very minimal as far as how much to put on each side or how much to put in a thigh.
I don't know. I know like when I inject ribs or pork, um, I call it brooding,
Hmm.
right? I want to take as
Sure,
much as it'll take. I'm giving it.
just take
Um,
it.
but with chicken, with my process, it's literal. I've never went back into a leg and said, "Hey, I've got some leftover injection. Let me put more in there." What's that? What do you have?
Oh, that's that beautiful HK Young bourbon just came out. Check it
H.
out.
It's nice. I
It's
have
very nice.
Barrel King.
Barrel King, very nice.
Barrel King. It's cherry cola. Pretty
Chicken
good.
cherry cola. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not bad.
not
Makes your
terrible.
beard turn gray.
Yeah. Oh, here Ryan chimed in. He said depends on your injection. So I guess uh some injections you can wear it out, and others depending on how much you put in there. Uh depends on how much you can pump in there.
Sure.
And then TNS barbecue competition team said he's been very lucky with chicken, is never injected.
And I
So I
can
mean that
vouch for his chicken. I've eaten his chicken 2 years in a row in Compton, North Carolina. That
mhm.
man is he's a mad scientist with chicken.
Yeah, nice man. I definitely take his word for it. All right, so we're injecting it. So after you pulled out the brine, another thing I wanted to ask you: did you pat dry? Did you leave it wet? Like, did you put it back in like the fridge or a cooler, or what are you doing?
So once I get over, I rinse it,
Hmm.
and then I am looking for, hey, did I miss some brine? So I
Hmm.
do want to make sure that I don't have like a big old gloop of brine down at the bottom of one of the pieces. But after that, I go in and I put it in a vac seal bag, and then I vac seal it again, and
Hmm.
then it just goes in a cooler or a
Right,
Cambro.
I got you. I got you. So you vac seal after you brine.
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
I just put like a paper towel in a like a pan, half pan, and just kind of leave my thighs just dry. I dry them off both sides and just leave them
Yeah.
in there overnight. I'll leave it covered. It's covered, so I don't have that refrigerant coolant or whatever on there. It's covered, but it's in the fridge
Yeah.
overnight. So, all right, man, we're moving on. Next morning, day of, you got your cans 300 up and down. Where are we at? What are we doing?
So from a morning standpoint, it's going on at 10:15 is when I like to put it on.
Okay.
So from a rub standpoint, usually about, I don't know, we'll say 9:15 to 9:30, right? Because there's a 9:22 that we
Mm-hmm.
all participate in. So I can't really do it before, but I'll get the chicken out so I don't want it to be
Cheers.
cold when I'm putting it on the drum. But then
Mm-hmm.
from there is when I apply the rub. Now with mine, I do pull the skin back.
Okay.
I'm seasoning the chicken itself, and then I put the skin over. And I used to do everything individually, right? So first
Mm-hmm.
rub, then second rub, then third rub. And I was like, man, I'm wasting a lot of rub. So they make these little shakers you can pour it in, and then you just supply it on from there. And my rubs, Pete's chicken rub. Hang on, that's a
There you go.
just a great
Great.
chicken base, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then I love my twisted steel, my sultry, and that's it's
That's
so
the, that
new to
stuff's
people.
so good.
I run it. I mean, sultry is run on all three of my when I do a pork cook as well, but that's run on all three. And then I
Mm-hmm.
do vary. Sometimes I will run the Heath's honey. I love the honey.
Mm-hmm.
Or Twisted Steel his steak appeal. You
Okay.
would think
For a
because
little
his steak,
savory on there.
well, a little bit, but it has sweet to it. It's got that honey taste to it, so I think it's a good balance. And when I'm measuring, I just do a third cup, third cup, third cup. So it's all equal parts. I mix it, then I do the same thing again until I get the shaker full. But I found that does help me when I'm applying the rubs, just for a more even application.
Yeah, that's definitely helped me last year tremendously because I used to do like you. I'd layer my three rubs, one after the other, and then you know I'd looking at it, I have these like dark spots on there, and I feel it's from where you over rubbed or over seasoned,
Hmm.
and definitely mixing it in the shaker and shaking it up and blending it that way, and just doing one coat on top
Yeah.
definitely helped me be more even and across you know all the thighs. And so do you do even coats under the skin and on top, or are
Yes.
you just doing so even under and on top, and you don't it's never been like common too salty or something like that's something I always worried about if you do it under and over being like a too salty, too much salt on it.
Where I feel that I've gotten that feedback has been from my injection process,
Okay.
honestly. And do you have one of the slides that has the chicken legs on? Like I know you have one where they're on like the pizza sheet.
Uh-huh.
Can we put? I want to show some. So right here. So if you look, this is a great example of what people will use to put their legs on. But if you look at
Mm-hmm.
the bottom of all the legs, you see all the white spots
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom. So this thumb grinder, right? Put
Right.
your rub or put your finishing rub in there, and if you hit that, you're able to put the rub on there, so it helps from the appearance standpoint of the very bottom part of the chicken. No one's eating it, but again, just putting
Just
that
for
extra
looks.
step. Yeah, just from a presentation standpoint, it does make a difference because sauce, when you sauce that, it'll still reflect there's no rub there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it makes a difference personally, but you
Right.
know,
Right. Like I said, and showing this picture, the pizza rack, I feel like has become. I mean, I guess Brad and Tim made it famous from the barbecue league. That's kind of where I got it. But the disposable pizza racks you get from Walmart, it's a fantastic kind of vessel to lay. I use thighs in a similar fashion as these legs are to put on there, so it's easy. So you're not picking up individual legs and thighs
right?
on the grates themselves and get kind of the gunk you get on there. You got a clean, fresh, cooking thing that you can take all of them off at once and all of them back on in the same uh, process. So, all right. So you got your rubs on. How long you let it sit there? So about what 30 minutes or so, or
Yeah, at least 30 minutes.
30 minutes, and then you're putting. Do you use a rack or do you use the pizza kind of grate like this?
I have it's just a baking sheet, a cookie baking sheet that I put foil down and I put the legs on top of.
Okay, I
Um,
got you. So we're putting, like I said, we got your rubs down that you used, and you let it kind of marinate in there and doing all that. So you're taking it off, putting it on the can. What time is it? You want to hit the can?
I
10,
like to put
15?
mine on about 10, 15.
10, 15. All right. So we're putting the chicken on, closing the lid, letting the smoke, you know, kiss the chicken. You're not running any deflectors or anything like that underneath. Just straight, meat over the coals and all that jazz. So for me, in my process, what I'll do, I'll take aluminum foil starting off and run it underneath the chicken for the first 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll take it off. And I don't know if it helps or anything. I'm just thinking that it kind of deflects the direct intense heat on it, which I'm sure, I mean, I guess really the pizza rack's doing that for you. Essentially, it's just adding an extra layer of protection for the chicken thighs.
But the important thing is that's your process, and that's what you're comfortable with, and you run it.
Right.
And
right.
everyone, on this podcast right now, I'm sure has some type of or process we're not talking of. And don't get discouraged by that. Don't feel you have to go change what you're doing. See that process through if it's giving you success. Something
Absolutely.
Logan I was humbled with was recently I had a chance to do a comp with my good buddy Marty Blue, right? Twisted Steel. And I'm an okay pork cook, so I was doing pork and chicken for him. And he's like, "Hey, we're doing thighs." I was like, "But I've never." I mean, it's been over 3 years, but I was surrounded by teams running thighs, and I found it very interesting that every one of the teams that ran thighs, they were using it's called foul form.
Yep.
And it was interesting to see how their thighs turned out. Oh, okay, yeah. So you got a picture of that. It's even better, right? But when you think about you want to simplify things, this right here simplifies it for you from a process, from an efficiency, from how easy it can be. And I wish I would have got my hands on one of those before I cooked thighs, because my thighs just they didn't turn out the way they should have turned out, if I'm being honest.
Right. It definitely helps, because that's the main thing with thighs, because everybody wants those beautiful dinner rolls.
Yeah.
The dinner, the dinner roll shape for your chicken thighs, and we've all known majority of it has to do with trim. That's probably 70% of it is how well you, probably maybe 80% of how well you do your trim job. And the other part would be getting your skin set. Like I said, when you're cooking on the can like this for either legs or thighs, you want to make sure the protein gets your skin set, because that kind of prevents the skin from turning rubbery, in my opinion, later on in the butter bath process.
Yeah.
I know some people that go straight, they get their chicken, they put it straight in here, and then run it purely in the pan the whole time. I haven't done that yet. I don't know the process, or the ins and outs as far as how that works, but I know a lot of people that have tried it and done it before and has had some success.
Well, something interesting about the foul forms, I know there's a Facebook group now that went live, I believe, today. And Ryan, he's a good friend. And I had a chance just to listen to him while I was at that comp, and he was kind of walking me through. And, we talk about the Missouri approach. He was able to show me, and I was able to taste it by him and two other cooks that were right there running the same, piece of equipment to help them be successful with their cooks. So, yeah, if you're a thigh cook, I mean, it just, I don't know, anything that can make our jobs easier, I would encourage you to do. I know
all the tools, like brisket caddies, man. It's another great tool to kind of help, keep your protein from mushrooming up. But we'll talk about that on another week on this show. So right now we're sticking with chicken. TS Barbecue has dropped a little nugget that we didn't talk about earlier. I just wanted to hold that for myself, but since he shared it with the chat room, I feel like I need to share it with the listening audience. TS Barbecue Competition says, you said wrap them in plastic wrap and put them on ice overnight, take them out, unwrap, season, and pan them puppies up. So yeah, that's another great pro tip for thighs. Once you get your chicken trimmed and how you want to, if you wrap them in saran wrap, it really help, and get them cold. It really helps them maintain their shape for longer in the process. Or you can do something like the foul form, which will keep them in there with the tool. So there's definitely, like I said, there's many ways to skin a cat, as they say.
That's for next week when we talk about skinning cats.
Skinning cats and Chinese buffets.
Yeah.
Coming next week.
Oh boy.
Anyways, all right, man. So we're moving. So we got the chicken. We got the skin set. How long does that usually take? And are you rotating your
I do.
racks?
After 15 minutes, I do open the drum up and I just spin it, 180 degrees.
How many times you
It,
doing that?
usually it takes 30 minutes for the rubs to set, so I'm only
Okay.
doing that one time.
Okay.
But I would tell you, if your rub's not set, then it needs a little bit longer. Don't
Mhm.
Timelines are great. They are.
Sure.
They're there to keep us organized. They're to keep us on track. But they're also there to kind of not be the only set of rules that we have. So if you have to have an aha moment, or you have to have a hey, we gotta, make a different decision. Don't get so well. My timeline says I have to do this.
Mhm.
99% of the time, my rub's set within 30 minutes. There are
Mhm.
sometimes though when it's super humid outside or whatever that maybe it takes a little bit longer. Maybe it's 35 minutes. Maybe it's 37 minutes. But don't
Yeah.
let it set so long that you burn.
Right.
You don't.
Absolutely. 'Cause you can't take it back from once you get too far.
You can't, no.
Yeah.
But let's say
Yeah.
perfect world, it's 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, I'm taking them out. So now it's 10:45, 10:47, or whatever that I've
Yeah.
got my legs off, and then I start them in the butter bath.
Right. Okay. So we're taking them off into butter. Oh, that's another good tip you said. Look up humidity. If you have a really humid day, it's going to play a big part in your cook time. You know, uh, weather in certain areas of the country, altitude can play a big part in your cook time. So just be aware of your environment and kind of take all those factors into your cook. Uh, so so moving on. So we got the chicken skin set, and we were pulling it off, and we're putting it in a half pan. I'm just assuming.
So I use like a turkey roaster pan just because the half pan won't hold all 13 of my legs.
Okay.
But if it's thighs and it fits in the half pan, use it. I think
Hmm.
the smaller you can go, the better off you are because it
Hmm.
keeps your liquid from the butter more centralized.
Hmm.
If that makes sense or not. But from a butter standpoint, when I'm putting
Uh-oh.
the butter slicer,
The
right?
butter cutter.
The butter cutter. Man, whoever invented this, I hope they have a private jet. But anyways, so with my butter, I will, and I use a lot of butter. A lot of people are like,
Mhm.
Josh, we don't use a half the butter you use, but I still use Kerrygold. Um,
Salted, unsalted.
so I do two salted to one unsalted. I put a
Okay.
lot of
So
butter in there.
so 3 sticks.
No, carry the 6 sticks.
Oh man, I saw the wheels in your head just start turning.
Yeah,
Two
I was thinking
two
about how
minus
much
the
money I've
three.
spent on butter and that Lamborghini car payment, and it's about the same.
Dude, that's a sponsor that no one has to my knowledge that I want. I want to
Well, what
have
you can
a
do is
Kerrygold sponsor and aluminum foil sponsor.
Kerrygold is easy. All you have to do is be a good self checkout cashier, and the
I
sponsors
I
just roll. No, I'm joking.
yeah. Just spin that barcode upside down when you go it across.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No.
I run Kerrygold, but I know a lot of folks that run different brand. They run Great Value. They run the Aldi's brand, and honestly, they have great success. So I just happen to run Kerrygold.
A lot. I think. I mean, because of barbecue, I've become a butter snob,
Yeah,
and the Irish have many things figured out: good beer, good whiskey, and good butter.
I don't
So
disagree with you at all.
yeah. So all right. So we're going 6 sticks of Kerrygold in that pan.
Yes.
That
So like I'm slicing, the bricks, so it's 2 sticks, right? So I'll do that. And then after I
sure.
slice it, I build the wall around, which for me, that's more of a process thing than anything else. Because at the end of the day, the butter's just gonna melt and it's gonna be in the bottom of the
Yeah.
pan. But that's just what works for me. Then I put a base layer
So
down.
kind of like this.
Yes, but that is
But,
not 6 sticks. That's probably a stick and a half.
right. But I'm saying so. I was just showing people, do a kind of an outline of the pan with the butter, and then I'm guessing
Yes.
you go in between two.
Yeah, so mine goes all the way around and then on the bottom as well. And then I put my legs on there, cover it with foil, and then it goes back on.
Back on. So you go immediately from pulling it off into the butter. Do you let it rest a little bit?
No, I
To
want to
put
have
in.
that as seamless as possible. and then I'm putting it back on. So it's 10:15. Let's say it's 10:50 that it's going back on. Sometimes it's a little sooner, but we'll call it 10:50.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I give it 20 minutes. And again, this is where having your whatever you're cooking on level. And I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cooks do that. You see it, right? You walk by their fancy trailers, they've got the little level marks, the stuff's level. But when you're someone like me that doesn't have that trailer money, and you're cooking on the ground, level can look weird
Yeah,
sometimes.
they can.
So, and if you don't have a level, get a beer can, put it underneath one of your wheels, have, straighten out, whatever it takes.
Or just
Uh,
drinking that beer that all looks level.
I've had some good cooks that way. But but anyways, when I have it on the butter bath there, I am leaving it alone. And I'll leave it alone for 20 minutes while it's just, steaming. That's
Mhm.
all it's doing, right? Um, and then after 20 minutes, I will check. I'm not checking every single leg, but I am checking on both of the outer corners and on the inside because I'm looking for, am I getting a consistent cook? Or, hey, this left side's running, 4 or 5 degrees hotter. Okay, well, I'm spinning it anyways. I need to be mindful of that.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question that I kind of skipped over. Um, so after you get your chicken off the can, and the skin set, um, are at that point you can kind of tell who's going to be the belle of the ball. I feel like you kind of got an idea of. Are you getting an idea of like which, say, 8 legs that you're kind of leaning towards that possibly will end up in your box, or and you're putting
Honestly,
the weird ones on the corners? Because I know a lot of people that'll do that with thighs. They'll put like your wonky ones kind of on the 4 corners to kind of be your shields, and then the ones that you kind of pick out, you put that kind of in the middle.
I unless there's I try to be very deliberate when I'm deciding the 13 legs I'm going around with. Again, I don't do it off weight, but I am looking at shape. I'm looking to make sure it is attached to the bone. It's not a broken bone in there.
Do you go left,
Um,
right, or is that you don't care about that?
I don't care.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, some people, and I get it. I'm not that guy.
Mhm.
Uh, but I really don't pay attention until it comes out of the butter bath because I have had strong feelings about, hey, these are going to be great. The butter bath happens, say a tendon breaks or whatever happens, right? And the skin pulls
Mhm.
back too much or whatever. And
Sure.
it's like, well, hey, this kind of got in the way. So I just place them in where they fit. And then after the butter bath, that's when it's, for me at least, decision time.
Decision time. Okay. Uh Yeah, because I mean, when it comes to especially legs, like you're gonna have blowouts, and blowouts, like I said, I mean, for people that are watching or listening, blowouts are not a bad thing.
No,
Like
not at
blowouts are
all.
fine. If you give a chicken have a blowout on the back, you're fine. It's not the end of the world. I mean, if your skin pulls back so much, that's more of an issue than a blowout.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, because you still got some trim in the thighs, especially thighs. You shouldn't have pullback on your thighs because if you tucked it in right and set the skin good, they should keep their shape for the most part. But legs are, like I said, a different ball game. Because when I do my thighs, when I put them off, put them in the butter bath, like I kind of have an idea of who I want to take to the dance. I pick out my best 8, and then the rest, the janky legs, I put on the not janky, not
Jordan appreciates that.
yeah, not not that's totally not a diss on Kirkpatrick or janky legs. So no, but I kind of put my messed up ones on the outskirts, and then I do the other ones in the middle, kind of protect them bad boys.
Yeah.
And you don't probe your chicken, so I put a little probe at that point. Once I put them in the butter bath, I put a probe in them and kind of watch the temp in the
I
wrap.
think that's a good practice for people to use, whether you're new or seasoned. For me, I do not, and I probably should, if I'm being
Mhm,
perfectly honest. I just my habit is, hey, I know what it should look like, and then again, it's where we get wired. Oh, a timeline should produce this. So for me, I'm
mhm,
always thinking timeline. But I'll be honest with you, I did those thighs just recently at
mhm,
that comp. I ran the same amount of butter I would normally run, and
mhm,
my thighs were done 35 or 40 minutes ahead of schedule,
mhm.
versus my legs. And
Well, that's a
so
lot. That's a lot of butter, man.
Well, it is, but I like my butter. Um,
That's some Pauline smiles down on you, sir. Paula
but
Dini knows chicken, but no, that's cool.
but the picture you showed of people using, say, the foul form or whatever with their thighs, they don't
Hmm.
use as much, and that comes from just the knowledge of it doesn't take as much, right? Or it
Right.
doesn't, you don't want to get as hot, you don't want to burn up,
Hmm.
or have the skin separate on you. Um, so for me, after the 20 minutes when I'm spinning, I am probing. And usually after the 20 minutes, I'm seeing them at about a 180, 185.
Hmm.
So when I spin them, I know within probably 12 to 15 minutes, I'm going to check again.
Okay.
Um,
So,
but
so,
it is a good practice to probe it or to
right.
run a probe in them.
Absolutely. All right. So we're got them into batter bath. What temp are, because at a certain point you're probing them, right? And you're looking for temp. What temp are we pulling at?
So 202 to 204.
Okay. So
Um,
that's why I pull my thighs at too,
yeah,
around that mark.
there are times that I've let mine go further.
Hmm.
Not intentionally, but they have. They're 207.
Right.
I have something like that. I'm opening it up. I'm letting it
Hmm.
calm down, cool down a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, but that seems to be a pretty safe spot.
Hmm.
The chicken is so small when you think of your tenderness when you're probing it. Um, you can make yourself feel comfortable at 185 degrees, but we know that that's not far enough.
Right.
You
Right.
hear new cooks, and they'll reach out to me, Josh, I pulled it at 190. I'm like, but why? They say why. I'm like, I bet it tastes good. Oh, it tasted great. Yeah, but how was the bite? Oh, a little tough. Okay, well, you know, patience, grasshopper. Uh,
Exactly. Well, you know what? I've won. I got some calls because I was behind schedule and stuff like that. For instance, that time that I did the half frozen chicken, and
yeah,
that I can only get to like 185, 190, and it varies on the different how much injection and stuff you put in. Certain chicken can be done at that time, but majority of the time you're looking between 200 to 205, 206 at the most
sure.
on thighs. On thigh, I feel like thighs you can push a little more than you can legs, just because there's more fat on the thighs. But anywho, so all right, so we pull the chicken, pull it out. What are we doing now? We putting it back on the rack or
So once
dip?
I pull it out, and when I take them out, I'm taking scissors. So I have my sauce, right? And there are
Mhm,
so many great sauces out there
mhm,
for chicken. We all know the barbecue league sauce, right? Smoke this KC with Blues Hog. It's a 50-50 mix. That is a
mhm.
wonderful sauce for people to use, especially when they're getting into the chicken game, just so you can get some quality.
Winning sauces for sure.
Yeah. Heath's got a sauce. He's got his comp sauce, and
Mhm.
that with a little mix of his cherry apple habanero,
There you
and
go.
that from a chicken sauce. It's got a little heat. His cherry apple hab is not think habanero. You think hot. It's not. It's very well balanced. That's a good combination from a sauce that you can have for a balance. Um,
I do a quarter Craig's, a quarter Blues Hog OG, and then I do a quarter of uh, uh, Blues Hog Smoky Mountain.
yeah, yeah, that's a great. Obviously, it's a great combination. You've had a lot of luck with
Yeah.
chicken.
Do
Um,
you do you warm yours up, or
yes.
do you do room temperature? Or?
So no, I like to get my sauce to 120 to 130 degrees
Mhm.
when I'm doing that. One, I think it changes the consistency of the sauce.
Yeah, it definitely thins it
Good
out.
thing. I mean, the brand, the brands you just named and the brands I talked about, they're designed. They're a higher end barbecue sauce.
Mhm.
Period. They're made for this.
Definitely.
You want to use something made for what you're doing. But before I baptize the chicken with it, right? So I pull the legs out and I'm cutting the legs. I'm cutting the bone because the meat's pulled back a little bit. So I trim that up immediately. Then I dunk them in the sauce, and then before I put them on the my grate, and again the grate's got foil on it. I
Mhm.
hit it on the bottom. I'm more concerned about, and I think this is something people miss, where a judge takes a bite. Where's their tongue? It's at the bottom, right? So I took
Mhm.
a bite. So I'm hitting, with these little thumb grinders. They're great. I'm hitting that finishing rub at the very bottom of where the bite's going to happen on my chicken. Some people will run a board sauce. If that's what you're doing, keep doing it. If you're not,
Mhm.
it's worth looking into. I don't personally run a board sauce. I don't think it's necessary with chicken. Um, but after I've dunked them, put them back on there, they do go back on the smoker for probably 2 to 3 minutes. Just let the sauce kind of, I won't say tack up, but it does. It tacks up a little bit. It helps it settle.
Mhm. So, uh, yeah. So you're gonna put that on there. You're putting it back on the can. Are you adding any like pellets or smoke to the chicken, or are you running
You know,
just?
I used to, and then I had a couple comps back to back, not last year, the year before, where I got feedback was, hey, it was overbearing. And I was
Mhm,
like, "What do you mean it's overbearing, right? I'm using a very soft
mhm,
fruit wood. This isn't rocket science." But the judges were nice enough to leave me feedback. So, and it wasn't one judge from one table; it was three judges from the table I was on with chicken.
mhm,
So, obviously it was too much. And then I got to thinking, a lot of these competition barbecue sauces, they have a little smoke flavor built into them, anyways. So I stopped, dropping a handful of pellets in there like I used to, and I just let it just set.
I got you. I got you. I see. I've always been a little nervous doing that, just because I feel like it just takes just a little bit of dirty smoke to get on there, especially at that stage. That it's either going to really help you or hurt you. I don't feel like it's going to be anywhere in the middle. But I
Yes.
mean, obviously, it's been successful for you, so you know that's definitely uh something to check out. Here's a picture I actually have of setting the sauce on chicken legs. So, I mean,
That's a
this is
great looking picture.
it's a good thank you, my boy Hunt from Smoky Bees Barbecue. I've definitely
Yeah.
took this from you. Um, but this, if you can see kind of the sheen and kind of the look you're going for on a legs. I mean, you can see some blowouts on a couple of these on the back, but you can just trim those off and hide them and put those on where you can't see them in the box. We'll show boxing pictures here in a little bit, but you can definitely, there's tips and tricks, and you can always hide, but basically you put some makeup on in the boxes and make it look pretty
Yep.
for the night. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of, like I said, it's a good picture of kind of like what sauce you want to look what it should look like after you set your sauce, because you don't want it to get too dark, because once you put sauce on, that's the sauce and the sugars and all that stuff in your can, and if you leave it in there too long, then it's going to get dark quick. Another secret that some people do, they'll hit it with a little cooking spray or something like that to kind of sheen it up. I've seen some people do that while it's in the can, while you're setting your sauce on your chicken.
Yeah, and
Do
I've never hit it with, the duck fat, after the
Mhm.
fact. I would tell you my kale in my box, I hit with duck fat.
Yes.
And then, from a sheen standpoint, I know a lot of folks will, after they've got their food placed in there, they'll stand away and they'll do a couple sprays of water uh,
Hmm.
to give it that effect. Which again, why not?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can
Absolutely. I mean,
control your appearance, control
yeah,
it.
definitely. So definitely a tip like you talked about in your for boxing that I learned from some classes I took is hit it with a little bit of cooking spray or duck fat in the kale, and also the top of the box, just a light little spray, and kind of rub it in, so that way when you close the box, especially if you do thighs, when you close the box and you open it, if you, because we've all had some barbecue loss, you close the box and you open it up and there's some barbecue sauce on top of the box, right? If you hit it with a little cooking spray or oil, uh, it doesn't take as much off there. So I've noticed if you do that, it helps. Little tipsy tricky. Um, all right, so let's talk about boxes. You're taking it off there and you're boxing it. So how many legs are you running in a box?
I run between 6 to 7.
Okay.
Now, if I'm Robert Jackson, I only got to turn in 4, right? Because I'm Robert Jackson and I just win anyways. But
Right.
uh, no, but I think this is one of the boxes I did last year or the
Yes.
year before. So this is a 7 bone, or 7 leg. I will, if I can help it, with other boxes when I'm building 7, I will tuck them in underneath.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think from a presentation, it looks better.
Right.
Uh,
And like I said, you would get, so in this box, I'm looking at it, you would get the little sauce on the left side of the box. right there. I mean, that's just
Oh yeah, before
something.
turning, yes, yes,
Yeah, you get that, and you can see how his kale. He hit it with a little cooking oil, and it really brightens up that kale. Really makes it a nice green. And I have some different varieties and different combinations of chicken legs and thighs. So, for instance, some people. This is my favorite. So, Kerry Chastain, shout out to Kerry.
Oh
He
man,
has,
amazing.
dude. It goes. He has the prettiest leg boxes of anybody I've ever seen. Just like Bill Purvis
Yeah.
has the prettiest thigh boxes of anybody I've ever seen. Him or my boy Brian, the barbecue bus, but it's a run for the money. But so here is Carrie's uh, chicken box, and you can see what you're talking about, Josh, how he's kind of intervening. So, like he said, if you have a blowout on these, you can't tell because
Right.
they're all
That's
kind of
amazing.
stacked and hidden. So that's like the fan method. That's a popular chicken leg box to look at. And like you said, his is definitely well rounded and nice and neat. And do you like so he did the chicken more towards the top of the box and left kind of like that green at the bottom. What is your opinion on that? Do you like kind of doing that, or do you want to fill the box?
Honestly, when I'm building the box, I'm looking at the legs I have to work with. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the legs look beautiful the way his legs
Mm-hmm.
look.
Right. Yeah,
Sometimes
that's
my
gorgeous.
legs, I'm like, hey, I got to do some hiding because of the blowouts or whatever. So I am reversing it a little bit. When I have the judge open it, when you look at his box, the first thing a judge is going to see is, well, bone, right?
Yeah.
At the
Well, I mean,
handle.
and look at his bones though. He's got that so well sauced, and it's
Yes.
beautiful. Q-tips are your friend when it
Well,
comes
and
to chicken boxes.
chopsticks. I'm a strong supporter of chopsticks. Uh,
Chopsticks. Yep.
when I go to move my stuff around if I need to, or
Mm.
take some sauce from one that I'm not going to turn in and apply that sauce to one that is going to be turned in after it's set. Uh, but yeah, no, that box is beautiful.
And here's another box I want to show. Another variation. Just kind of not that one. Boop.
Yeah, very
Wrong
soft.
one. Solid. Here's one of legs and wings. That's another variation I'm seeing some people do. This is especially for like the jack. So for the jack, if people don't know, if you're ever lucky to get there, you got to turn in white and dark meat. So this is what a lot of people at the jack run, where it's legs and then wings for the white meat. But I've seen people run at normal comps, and they do fairly well. I mean, for me, that's just like a flex. It's like, you know what? I'm so good at both. I'm gonna put both in there.
Yeah, and you are rolling the dice. New cook or seasoned cook knows this. You are rolling the dice because you are giving the judges more to taste.
Yeah. So this, I want to show thighs. Like I said, this is one of my boxes I use for the chicken. Pardon my gloopiness, but it's like I said, I like the straight six down. You know,
Yeah,
3 and 3. You have that six pack look. I think that's just the cleanest kind of or nicest look for chicken thighs. I think that's pretty standard across the board. Or
yeah,
some
it's
people
making
go,
me hungry.
yeah, some people go 3 and 3 across the top and the bottom, but I like the six up and down. I like six pack, and six pack is beer, so that's good. And also, six pack is something I'll never have.
What are you talking about,
But
dude? What are you
yeah,
talking
it's in there somewhere. It's just
about?
buried. It's like a
There
buried
it is.
treasure. You gotta dig
Oh,
deep, and you can find it. My wife's still looking, but she hasn't found it yet.
mhm. You're
But
welcome.
yeah, man. So so and like I said, also, so you hit the finishing dust. You said you do your finishing dust before you set the sauce, not after, right?
It it depends. So a lot of times, or as I'm setting it, that's all it needs. There are
Mm-hmm.
sometimes though that I'll do that, and I will take a bite
Mm-hmm.
before I turn in. Um, and if it needs more, then I hit it with more. My
Mm-hmm.
finishing rub, a lot of times I use JDQ Sweet,
Oh, so
um,
good.
and I put that in the grinder. There are times though that yeah, look at that. You use it for mouthwash.
Mm-hmm.
Twisted steel steak appeal, though, again, it's interesting, right? Because you hear steak, like, oh, I can't be chicken. You'd be surprised. And
And
it's just got a nice punch to it.
I want to tell you, a lot of people use you. Sometimes you don't have to use that. Sometimes all you need is kosher salt. I know a lot of teams that all they use in their finishing rub is kosher salt.
Yeah, Yeah.
Because especially like I feel like in the summer when it's hot, sometimes people are craving, you're sweaty and you're hot and you're in those tents or something, you're craving that salt. So in the summer, I may lean a little more heavy on the salt side because I feel like maybe that's something the judges are after. But I don't know. That's when we kind of overthink things as idiotic barbecue guys. We're like, the moon is full, so it's leaning left, so I need to do it like this way, and I don't know. And
where's the ocean from here?
Yeah, exactly. It usually has nothing to do with anything, but whatever. We're gonna use everybody's so good, we're gonna use any little hint or tip or trick that we can to get the upper edge. So
absolutely.
But yeah, man. So close the box, walk it up, and do you like being turn-ins on the first 5 or the back 5 on chicken?
So in chicken, I am on a dead race to be first to turn in.
Me too.
I want it as soon as if it's 11:53, box is closed and I'm walking. I'm there.
Yeah, because chicken's the easiest to box, I feel like. Don't you? Like, it's not like you have to play with a lot of stuff. You know what it is. You know how it's going to go in there. So it's like boom, boom, boom. Let's roll. Whereas the pork and ribs and brisket, especially, like those are bigger meats. It's going to take a little more preparation time. So I'm trying to get every last second I can and get that chicken turned in the first 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And if I see Hess going to the table, I may wait till the last 5. Who knows? It all depends on who's showing up to the table.
Yeah.
But and also, like I said, our viewer said, with chicken being the first turn, that's when the nerves really build. So if you get it knocked out, then it kind of helps with you get a little more prep time and calm down on the backside. So
it does make a difference just to know it's done and out of the way. From a backyard standpoint, it's 50%, right? I'm halfway done. I get to focus on my ribs. If you're doing just strictly backyard, and
right.
I just like to be first if possible.
Absolutely. And he also likes to be first in the standings. So
I wouldn't know about that, but anyways.
But no, man, that's our recipe, man. That's kind of what you do, guys. If you're listening tonight, I hope you appreciate it. People pay good money to hear this man's chicken secrets, and you got to hear it for free. So if you do,
wait, I'm doing this for free? I thought.
Well, the bedroom favors come later. We don't talk about that on the air. That's illegal. But no, man, it's we appreciate you listening tonight. We truly hope that you learned something. And if you appreciate what we're providing here, make sure you give us a like and a subscribe and a follow on any of the platforms you're listening, following, and Apple Podcast, Spotify. A little follow and a share sure would be nice. Share this podcast with your friends and let them share the secrets of Josh Hess and take him down on the backyard scene. Use his trips or secrets against him.
I would love, I've not met you out on the comp trail. You guys know I go all over. So I'd love to, if I haven't had an opportunity to meet you, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to listen to you. Love to try your chicken.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we did talk through a lot of different, rubs, sauces, processes, things like that. And I would tell you, Smoke Ring Barbecue Supply, good friends of mine. And I know with Ryan's Foul Form, that's the only place you can get it. So if you're listening to this, you're like, hey, I'm ready to dive in or, start learning to enhance what you're doing. If you're cooking thighs, just order one. I was talking to Ryan this morning and he's like, Josh, we sold over 1,000. So over 1,000 cooks, are in circulation using that. So do yourself a favor and simplify your process.
That's right. We've given quite a few of those away on this show. So, man, it's definitely a cool tool. So anytime you can have a cool tool to come out to simplify your process, believe me, I am all about it. But yeah, man, for sure. But that's our show tonight, guys. Make sure you tune in next week because we're going to cover, guess what? Ribs. We're gonna follow the KCBS turn-in pattern. So next week is ribs, and we'll be announcing who's gonna be on the show here soon. So make sure you stay tuned. And as always, when it comes to barbecue, make sure you're always right on cue. See you guys.
See ya.
That's all, folks.